Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
What is WWE doing with Kofi Kingston? I'm Ollie Davis, who thinks one thing. Here's Luke Owen, who thinks another. And welcome to the WrestleRamble review edition of WWE Fastlane, baby, where I must apologise, we have been hacked by the dastardly El Fakador, and we can't replace this Screen Stalker logo. It's very inconvenient.
It's quite nice, though.
Yeah, it's a fantastic design. I think that's an objective fact. If you want to find out more about Screen Stalker and this whole thing that's putting the fate of WrestleTalk on the line, click the video link in the description below to learn more. Or there's like a Fakador army thing that's appeared on the top on the eye.
Come on, it'll be fine. I don't think there's anything to worry about. What's destroy anyway? I don't even know what assimilation means.
I am not even going to dignify these things with answers. Instead, let's talk about Fastlane. Because, overall, I thought this show was rollicking good.
I had a ruddy good time with this show. I thought there was a couple of things here and there where I was like, not what I would have done. But overall, I had a lot of fun with it.
I thought that the huge enjoyment factor for the entire show was the in-ring product. Usually, I especially around this time of the year and for the next couple of months, it's multi-man season, where WWE just book loads and loads of multi-man matches, just like last year at Fastlane. And it starts off okay, and it's actually very exciting. You've got so much stuff going on, but then you realise after a couple of months, it's just a crux. So no stories can move forward. No one ever really loses. It's a lazy way to get people on the card and to not actually tell a one-on-one feud, which is traditionally a harder thing to book. But we're at the start of that season, and it's just fun at the moment.
I'd say we almost had it. We had it last month a bit as well, because there was Elimination Chamber.
That you can't get more multi-man than the Royal Rumble
I was about to say Royal Rumble. Apart from the greatest Royal Rumble, there are scant few more multi-man or multi-woman matches.
I defer to the greatest Royal Rumble, yes. But the in-ring product, I thought, was more akin to an NXT style, a more indie style of wrestling, which is more focused on spectacular spots, very fast pace, but there is also a real solid story underneath it all. There was very few rest holds on the show.
It's interesting you say that, because I thought that a lot of the matches were really, really good, but I thought there were some of them, like I thought the Miz and Usos match was very much, that is a formulaic WWE tag match. The New Day, Rusev, Shinsuke Nakamura, a formulaic WWE tag match. I thought there was a lot of WWE formula within this. So I'm not sure I completely get on board with the NXT thing. Particularly, I thought the Shield main event, I described it in the review as 2/3 of a boring Raw main event, and then 1/3 of a, oh my god, the Shield are the best thing ever, this is why we love this team match.
Yeah. Well, you've got 10 minutes to fill at the start.
Well, yeah, you've got 10 minutes, and you've also got to get those Baron Corbin rest hold spots in.
Okay, we've also got one, the booking was the questionable thing on the show. I thought I think everyone's in agreement that the Ronda Rousey stuff is baffling. And you are of the main thing is Kofi Kingston, what they did here. He didn't have a match on the show, but he was... Well, yeah, going in,
okay.
He didn't have a match on the show, but he was arguably the largest part of the whole pay-per-view because the night was built around his narrative arc of Vince. But so what happened was on the pre-show, the whole New Day wish Kevin Owens well, which is muddled because Kevin Owens was put in by Vince McMahon.
That'll get more muddled when we actually get to the WWE Championship match.
Yeah, and the crowd popped huge. Just seeing Kofi on screen in this backstage segment in the kickoff part of the show. And then a producer tells Kofi, hey, Vince McMahon wants to see you. So he's like, ooh, regarding the title match, I wonder what's happening here. And then later on, after the New Day beating Rusev and Nakamura on the kickoff show, so on the main card now, which I thought was a fun match.
Yeah, fun match.
There was a really good near-fall sequences at some points.
There's a really awesome wheelbarrow into a German suplex spot, which I really, really liked.
And Xavier saving pins at the last minute, I thought was great. But the New Day won that, and then they find Kofi backstage, and Kofi is still waiting outside of Vince McMahon's office, which apparently is a rib on how long Vince makes the writers wait.
Is it really?
Yeah. So traditionally, 5 p.m. meetings with Vince and the writing team don't get started till 10 p.m.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Sometimes as late as 3 a.m.
Yeah, Pritchard has told those stories before on the podcast, being like, and it might be even going to like production meetings or like filming things. Be like, oh yeah, we started like the start time is 7, but you got to wait till Vince shows up, and Vince doesn't get there till midnight, and then Vince is just like, cool, right, everyone's ready then, we're all ready to go.
I mean, how can you be I struggle coming up with ideas at 11 a.m., let alone 11 p.m. But then the New Day, Xavier and Big E are like, well, let's go in there. And they storm into Vince's office. And he...
Vince says, I've been waiting for an hour. And Kofi's like, no, I was standing outside for an hour, which, again, feels like a very Vince thing to do.
Yeah.
And then Kofi, Big E and Woods are essentially just like, hey, look, this guy's been here for 11 years. Like, you've been always looking for someone to strap a rocket to. He's been sitting there right in front of you all this time. And Vince McMahon says, yeah, you're right. Tonight's WWE Championship match will be a triple threat, and it starts right now. And he sends Kofi out to the ring. And then Kofi goes out for the match. Huge pop for Kofi comes out.
Crowd are going nuts.
Absolutely ballistic for it. Kofi gets there. And then Greg Hamilton is a bit like, oh, I'm being fed different information. Turns out that the triple threat for the WWE Championship will come later. And for now, it's a tornado handicap match against The Bar. And it was essentially The Bar beating up Kofi for a long time. This went on forever. This is one of the periods where I was like, so I'm up at 4 a.m. to watch this show, and I didn't watch. I watched the wrestling on the pre-show. I watched the one match on the pre-show, and then there was the Miz thing, which I quite enjoyed, and then this, and there's parts of me I was like, I hope the rest of the show is better than this. Thankfully it was. Because this was just The Bar beating up Kofi. Then New Day run out, and Nakamura and Rusev thwart them, and they all get beaten up. And I was like, please don't let this be a heel heat night. Please don't have this be another night of... And then I thought to myself, oh no, it is. It's going to be a full night of heel heat because the Shield are going to win at the end, and that'll be the big babyface pop. So it's fine to get all this heel heat going through.
Yeah, and you've effectively got Elias working over the crowd.
God.
Every couple of matches, Elias just does a little in-ring gig bit.
This show is already long. Yeah. Like, it's 3.5 hours. Did we need 3 of these Elias segments to pad things out?
So the crowd during this Kofi handicap match, which went on for 7 minutes, I think, which doesn't sound that long, but it is when it's just one guy being beaten down, especially someone that everyone loves so much. And the whole idea was that Xavier and Big E wouldn't be at ringside for the title match.
Yeah.
Why it took them 7 minutes to come out, and I'm not saying get in there and beat up The Bar because it's technically a legal match, but at least be at ringside in case anything happens.
Yeah.
So it was a bit sloppy, and the whole Rusev and Nakamura thing opens up too many questions when you look into it. Like, what were they just waiting there?
Well, no,
are they working for Vince?
No, they're working with The Bar. It's the League of Nations 2.0.
Oh my God! Of course.
All the foreign heels together at once.
Standing in a row. But the worst thing was that, like you said, it went on too long. The crowd started to chant, "This is boring." Which, like you said, it was. And that's... I think when the crowd start chanting about the quality of the product rather than booing the bad guy in that kind of way, that's when you've crossed the line into... No, this isn't an effective piece of booking now.
But then when you get to the championship match later on, everyone is cheering for Kofi. So while they were chanting for that match was boring, which it was, it didn't negatively affect their appreciation and want for Kofi later on in the night.
Okay.
So I don't think it hurt the story.
It didn't hurt Kofi. I think it hurt the poor 3 guys in there, at least at the start. So what happened, The Bar obviously won with a double white noise thing. Kofi worked over New Day, sent packing. For the match later on, the title match, which for me was the best match on the show.
Oh, I thought the US title match was...
the US title match, the Shield match, this was a very good show overall in terms of in-ring wrestling. But you have Daniel Bryan versus Kevin Owens, and they announced that it will still be a 3-way, but not with Kofi, with this guy. And Mustafa Ali comes out.
And here's where I'm like, okay, so Vince is very much positioned as the heel in all of this. babyface in December, very much heel now. Like, he's screwing with Kofi Kingston. That is his character. He is a baddie. So he made this a triple threat match. So you're like, oh, okay, so he's going to book another heel into this match and put Kevin Owens at a disadvantage, even though Owens is the guy that he put into that, and Owens is a babyface. And then it's Mustafa Ali. And I'm like, well, why is Vince the heel giving this babyface an opportunity? I really don't get the Vince McMahon character.
No. I don't think Vince gets the Vince McMahon character.
It's all very, very sloppy.
It's like he can say, oh, it's tonight I'm going to do this thing, and it doesn't need any setup or any follow up. It really is just snapshot booking, where it's not taken into consideration anything else. And it really is a bit infuriating if you look back to December and it's a new era and all the McMahons are like, no more authority figures. But we're going to do what the fans are the authority figures now.
If anything, we've had more authority figures.
And
because Alexa
McMahon's.
Bliss is booking matches, so we've got even more authority figures for McMahon's and Alexa Bliss.
To be fair, that is consistent because she was the women's general manager.
But she lost that position when all GMs, apart from the ones on 205 Live, NXT and NXT UK, were abolished.
So we had the Mustafa Ali gets put in there. And you've got these three guys getting ready for the triple threat. You know, if you had that as a pre-announced match on paper, I'd be like, I was already into Bryan and Kevin Owens because I love both of them as wrestlers. Put Ali in there. Well, hey, we love Ali. At the moment, the only problem with Ali is he's not Kofi Kingston.
Yeah.
So you put him in there. But because the crowd, you built the crowd up for wanting Kofi Kingston, you nearly gave it to them. They might even have thought, oh, he might run in here. And it's just like you have to effectively run the gauntlet. Do a Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. Tie it in that way. You wrestled a match earlier. Now you've got to wrestle a triple threat here. But it was Ali, which kind of implies that Vince McMahon chose Ali. And the crowd will just automatically position themselves against you. And when they're doing the ring announcing, they say Ali's name and they boo him.
Yeah, because he's not Kofi Kingston. It's the same as when...
No, but it's not just because he's not Kofi Kingston. It's because he's now associated and affiliated with Vince.
I think it's more that he's not Kofi Kingston. It's the same as Rey Mysterio coming out at number 30 and he had the temerity to not be Daniel Bryan, so everyone booed him.
That was his fault.
It was definitely 100% his fault. And it's the Zack Ryder thing as well. Like, there were periods of time when Zack Ryder had his most over with Z True Long Island Story, and everyone, we want Ryder chants in virtually every match that he was not a part of. And then they would do open challenges just so they could not put out Zack Ryder and annoy the crowd. And that was very much done because they didn't want Zack Ryder getting over, and they were annoyed at the crowd for wanting him, so they just never gave him. Daniel Bryan was the same thing. Everyone was chanting for Daniel Bryan. There were no plans for Daniel Bryan to go any further. It's only because CM Punk left that they had to reassess things, and that's how Daniel Bryan got the push that he got. It was never part of the plan, Road Dogg, despite the fact that you want to tell us it was never the plan. At least here, it appears to be part of the plan. Kofi getting a shot at WrestleMania, this whole show is built around Kofi getting a WrestleMania WWE Championship match. So at least here, I'm not too like, I can't believe they're screwing Kofi. Like, this company just doesn't get it, because this is part of a bigger picture. This isn't Daniel Bryan. This isn't Zack Ryder. This is, we are doing this purposely so we can get to this point.
I agree.
So I thought it worked.
It's a similar thing with Becky Lynch, though. WWE, for once, are actually listening to the fans. They are genuinely pushing Becky. Like, she is definitely their top person at the moment. They're doing the same with Kofi.
Where does Vince sees her as number one?
They're doing the same with Kofi. They're pushing them, and I'm not worked into thinking that Kofi and Becky aren't actually going to get their shots at Mania. I get that that's what's happening. But the stories they're telling are crap. The story, it's like, oh, great, yeah, you're pushing the people I like, but there's another side of that, which is you've still got to tell stories that make sense.
Yeah, that's true.
With consistent characters, and now that's where they're falling down.
Yeah,
it's like you stop a leak over here, and it just creates a larger hole. But credit to Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, and Mustafa Ali.
They got the crowd into it.
None of them were Kofi Kingston.
Nope.
And the crowd let them know that for 10 minutes. This was a great crowd.
Yeah.
It's a very good crowd all night. And they worked so well Mustafa Ali in particular, in terms of just putting his body on the line, and Bryan and Owens in just incredible professionalism. Like that knee for the finish on Ali as he's diving off the top rope.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Absolutely. And it felt like the three of them backstage were just like, oh, by the way, you're going to get massively booed because you're not Kofi Kingston. So
how are we going to make this work, guys?
How can we work around this problem? So they all just sat there and they formulated this plan. And as you say, to their credit, I think they made it work. And Mustafa Ali got all of like the big spots, like the one-man Spanish fly, that 450 to the apron.
On the apron.
It looked amazing.
You get so much speed off the rotation coming off of those, and you land on, I don't know if you know this, the apron's the hardest part of the ring, Luke.
Oh, mate, I think even Ronda Rousey would say that it's the hardest part of the ring.
Yeah.
And she says it's all fake.
And as if that wasn't enough for Ali, Owens had to give him a pop-up powerbomb on it as well.
I know. Yeah.
Ali and the apron are now wedded to each
other.
other.
There was a moment when Ali's like on the second rope, but sort of on the outside, and Daniel Bryan does this running drop kick, and he hit like it was almost like a glancing blow to Ali, but he acted like it was like JFK, grassy knoll. He threw himself almost into the third row of things.
Yeah.
Well, at least he was aiming for the third row. Unfortunately, the barricade got in the way.
He's going for Mrs. Dad.
Well, he'd already gone by that point. And he threw himself as hard as he could into this barricade spot, and the commentators were like, well, that's him, he's done. He's out of this match now.
A similar thing happened to Bobby Lashley. Like Bobby Lashley got a curb stomp, devastating maneuver, but that wrote him out for about 7 minutes.
Yeah, he was done for. He was donezo.
Like, they're going to put him through the other commentary table they set up, right?
I know. And the crowd are chanting one more time. I was like, well, there's a perfectly good Bobby Lashley there to do this one more time too. And they were like, no. Baron Corbin, in the ring.
Sorry, I said table there. I meant desk. But Ali, there was even a moment, it was such a good match, the crowd popped for Ali kicking out of a Daniel Bryan pin. And then there was like a pause, and then they all started chanting for Kofi again.
Yeah. Oh, wait a second. We don't want to let the crowd know. We don't let WWE know that we're enjoying this. Kofi.
But Bryan retained in the end thanks to some Rowan claw slamming.
Well, it was, so they did the... it kind of like took Owens and Ali took Rowan out of the equation, and then Ali and Bryan had a bit of a sequence. But yeah, he hit the running knee out of nowhere for the win, and then right at the end, because apparently it's Healer Mania on this night as well with the Nia Jackson Tamina situation, Rowan just gave him a claw slam after the match because I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe it's going to be Ali versus Rowan at WrestleMania.
And it was just weird. They give the claw slam, breaking music. Start the music back up again.
Oh, yeah. It's the most devastating move now. They're definitely doing the 4-way at Mania, right?
It certainly looks that way. Man. It's a shame.
It's such a shame. Such a shame.
But overall, a really great match. And Kofi is still very much over. It's not like Kofi isn't over coming out of this, because he very much is. I don't think it's going to translate into him being more over. And so what was the point if you told a confusing story, and if it wasn't for those three guys being so good, you would have damaged them. Mustafa Ali in particular.
Mm-hmm. Could have. Yeah, there is every chance this could have backfired. I just think that the crowd was still into Kofi despite what they did earlier in the night, which means I think at this moment Kofi's almost bulletproof. And that he's just almost impervious. Well, I mean, they've got 4 more weeks, so
we said the same thing about Becky.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, no, when you're right, you're right. I'm going to stop my point there. Why even bother?
Yeah. Well, let's get on with the rest of the show. Now, we've already talked about the Kofi Kingston angle and Kevin Owens on the kickoff show. We've already talked about New Day versus Nakamura and Rusev. What we haven't talked about, Luke, is a segment you didn't see.
No, so I think it's no.
No, I don't watch it all. I skip through.
I was going to say, I don't think it's not new information for this show that I don't tend to watch the all of the pre-show because I haven't got an hour's spare to listen to Jonathan Coachman waffle on for an hour about nothing really. And then like you wait for it and then you get 7 minutes of wrestling at the end. So I'm like, Coachman. I'm just like skipping through the timeline. Coachman. Oh, Christian's there. Coachman. Ah, brilliant. Okay, here we go. I saw the Iconics. As soon as the Iconics came on, I was like, okay, well, I'll quickly watch what they've got to say. And then, yeah, Coachman. here's the match.
Well, here it's good. It's good because I get to be the one. I get to watch you react to what happened firsthand.
Interesting.
This was like one of the first little bits on the kickoff show, about 10 minutes in. If you yourself also didn't watch it, because really, who would care? Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville are doing an interview backstage, and they're talking about Asuka. And then who should walk into shot but EC3?
Oh, he's still around, is he?
Yeah. And he looks at them, and they look back at him, and he says,
What?
Mandy. After months of him having a mute gimmick,
Yeah.
they paid it off on the kickoff show in an angle with Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville.
Oh, that's great. Has he even been on SmackDown?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I think of Raw when I think of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he says Mandy. He talks about himself being a hot commodity.
Oh, he said more.
He said
Oh,
more.
I thought it was just he went Mandy and then walked away.
She came and she gave me some sort of turkey.
On my weekend. Yeah, go on.
And he flirts with Rose.
Oh, well, he's a sexy man,
He's
isn't
a
he, with his
sexy
hex?
man. And then Sonya squares up to him and says, "Hey, Mandy wasn't put on this earth to flirt with a human tanning bed," which was quite a
good
funny line.
line.
Sonya was really good here.
Yeah.
And usually I don't think of her as a good promo, but I thought she came across really well and threatening.
I like Sonya a lot.
But yeah, and EC3 just walked off with his tail between his legs. Hey, it didn't work out, bud. We were rooting for you.
We thought it might work this time.
Yeah.
We all thought, hey, second time round, you've had a bit of a run in Impact. You've got yourself this new character. Maybe it'll work this time. Guess not. I just guess not.
Screw you for making a name elsewhere. Yeah. So that happened. Elsewhere on the show, we had Carmella with a petition to get R-Truth his title rematch.
Yes, this is where I would have missed that it became a fatal four-way for the US Championship.
Yeah.
Because when I was watching that New Day Rusev Nakamura match, I did think to myself, like, I mean, there's only 10 minutes left on this timeline. They've still got to get a Rey Andrade match into this. Hope it goes sometime.
Yeah, and it was quite cool actually, because she went up to Zelina Vega for her to sign it, and of course they had a tete-a-tete there because of her management of Andrade, and who should come over but to sign it? Samoa Joe holding the US title.
Nice.
It's like, yeah, I'll
He
give you
looks
boy a
so
shot.
badass with a belt.
It fits him.
Just fits him.
There's
man.
something about that flag as well, that the design of the US title, it looks really
Yeah.
at home on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the kickoff show we've already talked about. Unless you've got anything to say on New Day, Rusev and Nakamura.
No, I thought the Iconics. It looks like with the Iconics that they could be part of the WrestleMania four-way. That was the other rumored match for the women's tag team titles. It was going to be Bayley and Banks, a Raw team, a SmackDown team, and an NXT team. It looks to be now Bayley and Banks, Nia Tamina, the Iconics, and the Divas of Destruction, Natty and
Legends team.
yeah, Natty and Beth.
Why would you want the future? There's so much past.
Well, you got to save Kyrie for the pirate gimmick next year.
In the women's battle royal.
Perhaps. I got so many messages. In my Friday news, I said, and it's being held at the home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And WWE are continuing this pirate theme with their new pirate logo. I had so many people message me going like, it's a reference to the Tampa Bay logo. I was like, I know.
Which is?
Who are pirates? Like, that's a pirate logo.
Yeah. So the first match of the actual main card was the Usos versus Shane and Miz.
Yes, and I knew this was going to be first because when they did the shrink screen for the New Day Rusev Nakamura match, Miz Dad came in and said, and Miz said, "Hey, our match is on first, Miz Dad, so you better go get your seats ready."
Miz's dad was in the front row, and Miz himself got a huge reaction from Cleveland.
Yep, he's back. He's back to being said from Cleveland now because he's a baby face.
Yeah, he used to bill himself from Hollywood. I
Yes.
think it was Hollywood. It was definitely somewhere in California. But the crowd were great. They were so into him. It really felt like a hometown hero.
Just popped for his own T-shirt because he had a T-shirt that said "Cleveland is awesome," and yeah, the crowd was so into Miz. The crowd, as I said, I thought this was a very standard WWE tag team match, but this crowd elevated it to a whole other level.
Yeah, I agree. I think that did, and a spot that is really inventive and cool on paper. and it just about worked.
Okay, I think I know what you mean.
Well, Shane spent most of the match was structured with Shane doing the selling, and then he would tag in Miz for the hometown pop, I guess. Shane mostly sold by turning the colour red. He doesn't really sell normally.
No, he just goes red and sweats even more than he normally would do.
When Shane came in to get Miz for the match, when they had the segment with his dad earlier on, Shane was already glistening.
Yeah, because he is like, when Triple H used to wet his hair before he came out, that's what Shane does. He just he sweats himself before he has to do anything on screen.
Miz really excelled as a babyface here.
This is the first time I think ever I've thought, Miz can be a babyface.
Yeah.
And a really, really good babyface as well.
Under these really specific conditions in his hometown.
Yeah.
He's all right.
He's all right, him.
He did, the crazy thing for me, he did a top rope dive to the outside on both Usos.
Yeah.
You never see the Miz do that.
Absolutely
And
not.
that was when he revealed his Cleveland, Ohio t-shirt.
Exactly, because he's the baby face now. So he gets to do the big flashy moves. And it works for him. I liked it.
Has he
Did he not reveal the t-shirt at the top of the ramp?
No, because he started off wrestling in the Miz and Shane
I thought he
attire.
opened up his shirt to reveal his Cleveland is Awesome t-shirt.
No. I'm pretty sure he did it on the takes off top showing nice slide on the butt. I can't remember. Oh, no, yeah, before the top rope dive onto the Usos.
Okay, fair enough.
But then Miz almost has it won with the skull-crushing finale, but the referee, for some reason, is checking on Shane.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find where that is in my notes.
Which means that the Miz got a visual pin here.
Oh, no, because it was funny as well, because Shane was walking away from the spot, and it was one of the Usos, I think it was Jey Uso, who had to say, Shane, come back. And Shane turned around so they could do the spot. And then Shane was laid out and Miz hit the skull crusher finale, but the referee was tending to the boss's son to kind of get him out of the ring.
He's the best wrestler in the world.
And then Shane gets up to do the coast to coast. And on the opposite side of the ring, Jey Uso is up on top to do a splash onto Miz. And they kind of sort of eyeball each other, have a bit of a Mexican standoff. And then Jey goes to do the diving splash. Shane changes his trajectory and does the drop kick, the coast-to-coast drop kick to Jey Uso while he's in midair. And I thought everyone's going to die. Remarkably, no one did.
I thought this was an inspired spot.
Very cool.
I thought this was so good because, like you said, it's a Mexican standoff. One Uso is in the corner, ready, set up for the coast-to-coast. Miz is prone in the middle of the ring, set up for a splash. And the wonderful bit of tension when Shane's up, ready to do the coast-to-coast, and that's when the other Uso walks up to the top of the turnbuckle. And you're like, there's this... What a cool showdown. And rather than both hit their moves, it's Shane effectively sacrifices himself to save Miz. Such a beautiful tag team spot. I'm quite amazed I haven't seen something like that before.
Yeah, it was. I called it in my review. I called it horrible, but not in the sense of I thought it was just it was an ugly landing for everyone involved.
That's it. That's a really, really difficult spot to do
and make look pretty.
The timing and just the safety wise, and it was untrained 48-year-old man or whatever, Shane McMahon doing this move. If a Mustafa Ali, Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan, the caliber of performers WWE has did this spot, it would have gone a lot better, and you wouldn't be left asking afterwards, so who was that move done on?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's where it kind of felt. I really love the idea, and just well done for coming up with it.
Yeah.
But the execution was not aesthetically nice.
It was a car crash in the sky.
Nor was it very clear about what had happened. And it was only afterwards when I filled in the blanks, okay, so right, okay. But unfortunately, the Miz gets rolled. No, Miz hit a really good frog splash.
Yeah, really nice frog splash. But the Uso got the knees up. I can't remember which one it was, and they rolled him up and pinned Miz yet again. And then Miz and Shane, they do a little fist bump, and they're sort of like, sorry, man, I lost the team again. And Shane's like, it's fine. I think it's okay. And then they sort of walked outside, and they hug Miz Dad, and Shane hugs Miz Dad, and was like, oh, God, you're sweaty. Ugh. And then Shane, absolute knob that he is, attacks Miz from behind. It's funny because at the start of this match, when Miz came out and he had his Miz's Awesome t-shirt and the hometown crowd are with him, I thought, oh mate, you're getting turned on tonight. There is no way you are walking out of this match on your own 2 feet.
No.
You are being assisted out of here.
Hometown hero. I mean, I like... This is where I think the story should always have gone.
Yeah.
And this was a reported plan all the way back to the Best in the World win.
That's
the
the whole
idea
point of
was...
it, yeah.
It was going to go to Shane's head. He was actually going to think he's the best in the world, and then he'd slowly turn heel. But WWE dropped that whole first act of the story, and they rushed through into the final stages of it. So you lose all the nice substance that would inform this heel turn. It's a heel turn where it's just a moment. It's not like I don't even care to know why he turned heel, because I wasn't that invested in them as an act. I would have been if they had gone a few more months. For me, the thing that's most crucially wrong with this whole storyline is that they won the tag belts already. So there's no need for Shane to be so upset.
Yeah, there was a moment as well where Corey said, I'm not sure how the Miz and Shane are going to fare against an established team like the Usos. I was like, mate, they won the tag titles a month ago. Like,
Yeah.
I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, it's really, you should have built this storyline for them. Shane was always wanted to be the tag team champion. They said that in that quite very nice promo, actually. And they just miss out every time. But they didn't. They won on the first time of trying.
Yeah.
And so it's like, where is this frustration coming from? It's not a good story. It's really the Miz who is dragging this narrative arc by the scruff of its neck through.
And the real sad part about this whole thing is that it's not going to lead to the dream match that I fantasy booked in my head, which is Vince and Shane McMahon versus Miz and Miz Dad at WrestleMania.
Nice. And yeah, we've got a new McMahon heel authority figure.
But is he an authority figure? We don't know.
He is an authority figure.
I don't think that Shane is one.
Are you pritcharding me?
I don't know if he is one.
He opened a freaking show with Stephanie.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But he
did.
runs through the whole card. Like, who are you then? Are you an MC? I don't think he's an MC.
Is he still the commissioner? Does he get paid like a commissioner salary for that position? I don't know. Even Corey, and you know that he's a heel, because even Corey's like, it's too far. He went too far. Never put you... Because he attacked Miz Dad.
Yeah. Yeah, he face palmed him.
He did indeed, yeah.
Also, another thing that doesn't play into this is SmackDown taking a clean sweep loss at Survivor Series. So many reasons. Take your pick on why to be angry.
But it's okay, Ollie, because when it comes to Survivor Series again this year, you're just going to care even more that it's SmackDown versus Raw, because they've given you umpteen reasons to think this actually matters.
Yeah, it's long term. Baron's mid-card of evil did a backstage promo mocking the old Shield ones. I got a kick out of that because they even picked up the camera.
Yeah, and it was funny as well because it started on their feet and the crowd expected it to be the Shield, so they popped. And then when they lifted up and it was the mid-card of evil, they was like, oh, boo, you tricked us. So I thought actually it was quite effective. Horribly scripted, but I liked it.
Yeah, Drew did his best.
Yeah, and it ended with Corbin saying, you can believe that. So we're definitely getting Corbin Roman at WrestleMania.
Then we got an Elias song because the show had to be 4 hours.
It was 3.5 in total.
Come on, mate. Come on. It was 55 times 4, which is 3 hours 40. If I add in the match on the kickoff show and the angles on the kickoff show that mattered, it's a 4-hour show. It's a 4-hour viewing experience. Can we stop calling it a 3-hour show?
Well, it's 3.5 hours. But yeah, Elias he made fun of Miz and Miz Dad did some Your Local Sports Team stuff. And then I was like, okay, just waiting for the person to come out. I was expecting it to be Lacey Evans. Like, just waiting for Lacey Evans to come out. And then it ended.
No one's ever said that.
And then it ended. I was like, okay, cool. Right, what's next?
It did have a payoff eventually because they did this twice more, rule of 3. And I got a kick out of the hometown cheap heat stuff, but yeah, I think it needed the angle that made sense at the end of it for Elias to get his comeuppance.
Well, that's it, because like we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
I was very grumpy for Asuka versus Mandy Rose because that was up next, and I just wrote down, God damn it, Asuka's winning because Shane just turned heel. There's no way Mandy Rose is winning now.
Yeah, because you predicted that Mandy was going to win here.
Because because the show was too predictable. But then you've just had something really unpredictable happen.
The whole show, because the card kept changing throughout the night. So it was a wild, wild night for the cards and everything like that. Terrible for our predictions as well. One of them had to be nullified because the match changed. So in the opening video package for Fastlane, you had Todd Phillips going like, Asuka's such a dominant women's champion. And I'm like, mate, since the Royal Rumble, she's 0 for 1. Like, she is running at a loss here. Now she's 1-1 at long last. She feels to be getting somewhere. She is totally rudderless at the moment. And the only reason she won this match is because Sonya made an error. She didn't even win because she's the best.
Yeah. She made an error at making an error would probably be more appropriate. Because this match was really... it was nothing. Asuka and Mandy Rose are having a bit of a match, and Sonya's faffing around on the outside. She throws up the apron, presumably on the wrong side, and presumably at the wrong time.
No, I think she was doing that to set up that she was looking for something under the ring, so it didn't look weird when she did it the second time round.
Bullet dodged. Didn't look weird at all. So she then walks.
Hi, Bruce Pritchard, how are you?
Yeah, a couple of minutes later, she gets up another side of the apron and she finds a kendo stick, and you're like, okay, there's been no kendo stick in the storyline build so far. This isn't a DQ match. What's going on here? And then the idea is that the apron had been left on the canvas. Nice job, referee. Asuka whips Mandy Rose into the ropes. Mandy kind of trips over the apron. Asuka hits an awesome kick.
She kicked her right in the face. If you said that replay, slow motion replay is wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed to me like one of those things that looks really stiff, and it definitely connected, but is safe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
As opposed to a Brie Bella one.
Yes.
Where it's both in the face and not safe.
But the slow-mo replay they did, I can't get over how good it was. You know, like in Jackass 3 when they had that flying dildo? It's Cossack in the face. And he gets a problem like... Yeah. That's what this looked like.
Yeah. But really, it seemed to be more towards... Look, Asuka was not the focus here. It was the relationship between Mandy and Sonya, where Mandy was upset with Sonya for costing her the match. You pair that with the EC3 thing earlier. Is she being too possessive? I don't know what the story is here. I don't care what the story is here. EC3 wasn't involved, so what's the point of any of this?
Because we're heading to an EC3-way at WrestleMania.
Oh.
Asuka, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville for the title.
For EC3.
For EC3, for the rights to EC3.
Maybe you could have an EC3 in every corner.
EC1 and 2 can finally make their debuts and represent them in each corner. Yeah, I said this in the review as well, but it's very typical of WWE. They finally introduce women's tag team titles, and the first thing they do is split up one of their more established teams.
Then we got all the Kofi stuff where he saw Vince, then was in the squash match against the Bar, and the whole New Day were laying out by 4 heels, and they posed over Kofi, and it's really sad. Man. And then, hey, back to Banks and Bayley for a backstage interview, and Bayley just says, Kofi's so inspiring. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, look, he is inspiring, but he was just beaten the crap out of. Why aren't you concerned? If he's that inspiring, oh my God, I am sick to death now of backstage interviewers going, good win. Here's this thing. It's just like, I'm a fan of segues. These aren't segues. These are slamming your head into a wall.
Yeah. Anyway, Bayley says that we're not underdogs and we're going to defend these titles a lot. It was essentially the crux of the promo.
Yeah. Elias did another song and did some Miz, Kofi, and Cleveland stuff. This was the point where it felt like he was building an Elias versus Miz feud. And I was also confused, is this a SmackDown exclusive pay-per-view?
Did feel very SmackDown heavy, didn't it? Because you had them on the pre-show as well.
Yeah.
And then doing the first 3 matches on the card.
Yeah.
I was like, we're splitting this in half.
But we did get a Raw match next, after Shane didn't answer about why he turned heel backstage when Kayla tried to ask him stuff. We got the Revival defending their Raw Tag Team titles against Aleister Black and Ricochet and Chad Gable and Bobby Roode.
Fun match. by the end. I don't think the crowd were massively into this at the start, but they did pick up for it by the end. Ricochet did do a very horrible-looking Hurricane Rana off the top rope, where everyone just sort of collapsed and fell down a bit, and it did not look very pretty.
It looked like he Hurricane Rana'd into the apron.
Yeah.
Which is a horrible but cool spot if you can pull it off safely. But that isn't. Yeah, it was very clumsy.
It was, yeah, and it did do the big dive over the top, and they did get to stand tall at the end. So I think they had a fairly decent showing, but this was not like the great pay-per-view debut for Aleister Black and Ricochet. But then again, like they're just sort of lost in this kind of tag team shuffle at the moment. They're not made to feel very special, aside from the fact that they keep quote unquote winning and always standing tall at the end. I don't really feel like they're not gaining any momentum from beating any of these teams or being involved in any of these matches.
Yeah, I like this match a lot more than most people. Only went 10 minutes. Really, I mean, it should have gone at least 15. Because when the spot you're talking about when Ricochet got his big dive, this great spot where Ricochet just does a dive over the turnbuckle. Funnily enough, something I first saw Kofi do. That was the first time I ever saw someone do that.
Yeah.
Leaps over the turnbuckle from in the ring with a whole diagonal run-up. And he flips over and takes out, I think it was Bobby Roode, who was beating up Aleister Black near the barricade on the other side. But as he does that, Chad Gable blind tags in.
Yeah.
And runs in and has a bit of a thing with the Revival. And I thought, okay, this is like now into the final third of the match. But immediately after that, Chad Gable got pinned.
Yeah, I thought they did some good stuff in here of making you think that there could be a tag title change. I thought they did some really nice stuff here. There was a point where, because you had Black and Ricochet down to win,
that
I thought, Ollie might be onto a winner at some point here. I thought they might actually get the win. But eventually, yeah, it was a Revival hit the Shadow Machine and got a 1. Do you want a fun fact about this match?
Tell me.
Every single person in this match has a title or has won a title in NXT.
Well, yeah. But, yeah. And now they're all here not really doing anything.
Yeah, 2 of them are former NXT champions.
There was another there was some incredible sequences that were so seamless and fast-paced. It was a very fast-paced match because, I mean, really, they did have a 20-minute match. It was just condensed into half that time. But it was... I can't even remember the people in it. It was a German suplex into a pin, so it was held on.
Yeah, so it was Rude doing it to... no, Gable, rather, doing it to possibly Ricochet or Black, something like that.
And then Dash Wilder did a splash to break that up, and that pin was broken up by a Ricochet flip. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah, there was some really, really great stuff in here. I thought that everyone looked great.
Yeah.
Like, as I said, like, I don't think it was like a great main roster pay-per-view debut for Black and Ricochet because it didn't feel anything special, but hey, apart from that Hurricane Rana spot, they did look good. And I bloody love Aleister Black. Yeah. I think he's so smooth and he's so crisp. He just feels like a step above everyone else.
Yeah, there's a different kind of... It's like watching something in HD compared to standard definition. But Ricochet and Black got to stand tall at the end by beating up everyone and clearing the ring.
Yeah.
Michael Cole at one point said, this is what Fastlane is all about, when we were watching this match. And I thought, because I was under the impression that Fastlane has no defining features.
But you got to buckle your seatbelts because you got to go fast. Like the Yamaha advert, which I thought was a parody advert at first, but then it was a real advert for Yamaha.
Also, you were hoping the Revival would have a full entrance.
Yep.
They did not.
Well, we've got to get those commentators in.
Yeah, the commentators got an entrance. So still without that, still how long without a Revival entrance?
That have gone on, like, at least since they've won the belt, they've not had a full entrance.
Yeah. Then we got a shot of Becky hobbling backstage and Charlotte preparing. And then was the Samoa Joe, because it's back to SmackDown, Samoa Joe versus R-Truth versus Rey Mysterio versus Andrade.
This whole show really did feel like everything was rewritten on the day. And Vince, we kind of make the joke, he sort of wakes up with a bad dream or he's had a bad rep or something like that and was just like, no, I don't like anything that's on this card now. We're going to change it, we're going to do this, going to do this, going to do this. Because all of a sudden they got this 4-way match that has no build other than the fact that it happened on SmackDown 6 days previous.
It's a straight rematch.
It's just a straight rematch. The antiquated rematch, you might say. And so they just did it again. And it was very odd that we were just doing it again. But don't mind it, mate. Don't mind it, because my favourite match of the night. I loved it.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
And you know where I think we've said it a few times, that there were moments in matches before where the pin came and you're like, I thought you had a couple more minutes in you there. This went perfectly. Like, there were so many points where I bought into near falls. I was like, oh my God, it's over. Especially because they were playing off other spots in the match they'd already had.
Yeah.
Ray and Andrade are just something else.
There's a spot when Andrade did like a springboard dive to the outside, and he dived, and just before he hit Samoa Joe on the outside, did a corkscrew. It felt like it was really last minute. He was flying, and then thought, think I've still got time here to do a corkscrew. Oh, I'm going to do one then.
Yeah.
Really last minute stuff, but it looked awesome.
They're incredible. And R-Truth is a nice little comedy bit to put in there. And I think he's really dynamic and just visually exciting as a wrestler.
Yeah, got it.
And Samoa Joe is a badass.
Yeah, right.
He's so cool. And the bit, just a little spot at the start, everyone ends up outside and Joe does a dive through the ropes.
Yeah, that dive as well. Like, it's full steam ahead. And what I love about Joe Tope, it's all in the forearm action.
Yeah.
Like, he just runs through it and he's just like, oosh, with a forearm right to everyone. I think he's so cool when he does it. Because like, when Seth Rollins does it, Seth Rollins just pushes you over.
I was going to say, no, it's like, hug me. He leads with this embrace. Whereas Joe is
like the forearm to your face,
the
mate.
pointiest part of the elbow.
The Brock Lesnar part of the elbow. I just thought this was really, really cool. But I love this finish of, again, like the tag match, I thought there was so many points here where they were going to change the title. I was like, maybe the gimmick of the US title now is just changes hands every 2 days.
Back to the 2016, 2017.
It just changed that. It doesn't matter who has it because the next person's going to win it and it doesn't really matter. And so Ray hits the 619 and he goes up to do like the top rope splash thing. Joe dodges out of the way. Joe then doesn't move towards Rey Mysterio. Joe just grabs him and yanks him towards him and locks in the clutch. It looked so cool. Because Rey all of a sudden was like, woo! And it's been dragged away. It looked wicked.
Looked brutal.
Yeah, totally.
Samoa Joe just mad. And Rey's so tiny. And Joe is big. Like, when I saw him wrestle at Progress, he was like 6 foot. He must be 6'2".
Yeah.
He towers above me.
So intimidating.
Yeah. But the other thing here, and I thought, I've come up with a great storyline no one else has. And I listened to the Wrestling Observer review, and Bryan Alvarez said the exact same thing. But I thought of it independently. And that is, R-Truth hits the 5-knuckle shuffle here, and he does a few more John Cena spots. And we previously joked about having John Cena versus R-Truth as the WrestleMania match. Now, this is the way you do it. R-Truth gets his Joe rematch for the US title, but Joe just beats the crap out of him, and he's a long beatdown afterwards. But then whose music should hit to save him? It's John Cena. And that's how you build Joe Cena.
Okay, well, at Mania.
For Mania.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
right. I'm with you now. I thought you meant at Mania. And
that's not the Mania angle to set up the larger Backlash match.
That's what I thought you were going for, yeah. No, I like that. I thought there's just some really good stuff in it. But a lot of people have pointed this out as well, that when R-Truth did his 5-knuckle shuffle spot, he did the backdrop to Andrade onto Joe and left Andrade prone on top of Joe, essentially covering him.
Yeah.
And the referee
didn't
count that pin, and it was about 7 seconds that he was down there for. And it was only like, Andrade should be champion now, right?
Justice for Andrade.
Absolutely.
Let's make it happen.
Rules matter.
So, by this point of the main card, we're 2.5 hours in. So you're like, okay, 2.5 hours in. Give me a half-hour main event. What a bloody fun pay-per-view this has been.
Yep.
Now we've got an hour and a half left.
We have 4 more matches yet to go. And unfortunately, the next match is the Boss and Hug Connection versus Nia and Tamina for the Women's Tag Team Championships, which was sloppy, not great, short, pointless, and more there to set up the angle that happened afterwards.
Yeah, so it was no good, really.
Nia drops Banks while she's trying to do the Samoan drop, and then dropped her again when Banks did a dive to the outside. Apparently, Banks was made of Vaseline on this evening.
Yeah, it's like there were botches, and a lot of the stuff that did connect didn't look either realistic or nice.
I thought Bayley was good.
Yeah. Well, Bayley and Sasha Banks aren't the problems here.
Okay.
Like that, we know that they can wrestle well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Yeah, but like we said, it was really to set up the angle afterwards, which was Nia and Tamina are beating down Bayley and Banks, and Beth Phoenix was the guest commentator for this match. She was replaced by Christian on the pre-show, meaning it was 4 dudes. I thought the whole point of this was to have some kind of quota.
What do you think Beth added to the commentary?
Same as Renee, really, which is just going, oh my God, did you see that?
Oh, so it's the Booker T role.
Yeah. Jim Ross never said that. Jim Ross never went, oh, whoa. He'd always go like, oh my God, and then it'd say something about it. I hate WWE commentary.
Beth didn't do... I don't think Beth's the greatest commentator anyway, but she added very little to this match. But the whole purpose that she was there, so she could stand up to Tamina afterwards, and she she slapped Tamina, and then Nia Jax attacked her from behind, and instantly I was like, of course, and Natalia's running down then, and Natalya will run down and make the save, and Nia and Tamina will bail, because we've already had quite a bit of heel heat throughout the night. No. Nia and Tamina just dominated her as well, and they stood tall. Yeah.
This was the energy of a very good crowd started to be sapped considerably here.
Yeah.
It was all rubbish. I just thought, why not have Tori Wilson run down?
What, Hall of Famer Tori Wilson?
Hall of Famer Tori Wilson.
That's a new crap gimmick. Horny Famer.
Hoary Famer.
Don't know if you can tell in this one, but Ollie is not feeling himself today.
None of us are. We're all very, very unwell.
I'm very unwell.
But after that, we got the Bryan, KO, and Ali match, which was terrific.
Terrific stuff.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, ended with a random heel not involved in the match getting the closing spot. Then it was Becky Lynch versus Charlotte.
In another match that felt more like Angle than anything else. Because Becky is hobbling down to the ring. And again, I raised that question. How can she be medically cleared for this match?
She signed a hold harmless agreement.
Then why was that not offered when they wouldn't medically clear her the first time round after she won the Royal Rumble? Like, if that was a thing that was always available, why wasn't that brought up at the start? Surely bringing that up now contradicts everything they did a few weeks previous. Yeah.
It's an awful story. This is a terribly, terribly booked feud. And just when you think you've got a handle on what sort of terrible it's going to be, Ronda calls everything scripted. It's just baffling.
We haven't had your thoughts on this, but I guess you kind of shared what your thoughts are there. But like me and Laurie did a whole episode on it on Saturday.
I just don't... What we said all the time. Look, I know this isn't real. But don't look. I understand that there's also but my social media is not me in wrestling mode. It's just me. So like, you don't get Robert Downey Jr. doesn't continue pretending to be Iron Man on Twitter.
No,
like that. He has stepped out of that now.
I feel like Chris Evans is Captain America on Twitter, though.
He's such a big cake.
He's so awesome.
Such a big
He's a
cake.
hero.
But Ronda, I just said there's something different about wrestlers where, because they build feuds on Twitter and they do so much on social media.
But then sometimes they don't. It's a very weird place, Twitter and YouTube and Insta, whatever, for like wrestlers being characters but also being themselves, because WWE want you to play the character, but then they also sometimes just play themselves. Very, very, very weird place. I as I said on the Saturday show, I wasn't a fan of the wording that she used. I don't see the point in doing it. But it's signed off by WWE. Like, it's all by design. I just think that design is a bit rubbish.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that describes so much of WWE at the moment. It's like, okay, you're doing this thing. I get behind the basic idea of it. Oh, but you're just doing it rubbish. Just do it better, WWE.
You're just not doing the best version of this possible.
But when Becky Lynch came out, despite all the hobbling and really stupidly booked feud so far, the front crowd was full of the man signs.
It's handed out, isn't it?
Just let me believe for a minute. Let me have this. And I just looked at that shot and I thought, that feels so Attitude Era. And it made me feel, I got nostalgic and I got into it myself. And Charlotte is so good. I love the way she trash talks off the mic and then occasionally calls a spot, which takes me out of it. But like, I do like that she trash talks. Like there was one bit when she's like, "You're gonna have to hit me a lot harder than that, Becky." The best off-mic comment of the night, though, was Seth Rollins.
One more mother effing triple powerbomb.
That was so good. Yeah, it's a match. It goes about 5 minutes. Charlotte is just destroying Becky's leg, and Becky can't do anything. And look, I get that Becky doesn't give up, although about that time she did give up and apologise to McMahon's for no reason.
And in the Royal Rumble.
But she should have tapped out. If her leg is that bad... And Charlotte had a single leg Boston Crab on at one point, where the heel was touching Becky's head.
I know, but she had to wait till the figure 8 was in, because when Charlotte does a figure 4, it's not effective. It's only effective when she puts in the figure 8 version of it. That's when you have to then tap out, and she didn't get to that point to protect the move and protect Becky, I guess. When Ronda ran down again from the other town they were in for Raw on Monday, because she's just running to their various locations. And she ran in and purposely punched Becky to cause the DQ so that Becky goes into the Mania triple threat match.
Yeah.
It's not how I would have done it. If you'd have sat me down and said, like, okay, so we want to do Becky, Charlotte, Ronda at WrestleMania, what would you do? None of this would have been done. But particularly if I got to this point here where it's like, okay, now, if Becky wins, she's in the match, I would have just had Becky win. Because now it really does feel like Ronda is right and all of her chances are being handed to her. Literally by Ronda, I have handed you this win. Because she was going to lose. Charlotte had the hold about to be locked in, so Becky, in theory, was going to tap out. So Becky doesn't come out of this looking great. She comes out looking like a loser who just was lucky enough that Ronda came in and caused the DQ. And then afterwards, she's laughing to us, like, guess I'm in the match then.
Yeah. So it's like, I outsmarted you all. I hated that portrayal of Becky.
Yeah.
Like when she's sitting there smirking, and the crowd weren't on board with it either. They were all a bit like, that's lame. And Becky's this badass person who we've all got behind, who fights no matter what, and there's a sort of weird moral code nobility about her. And there she is, laughing and smiling that she cheated her way into the WrestleMania main event. Granted, it's an event she shouldn't have been pulled from in the first place, but still, and she was punched in the mouth by Ronda, I thought it was so ineffective.
Yeah.
And again, Ronda said that stuff on Friday about pro wrestling being scripted, but which means that she's in real life tougher than all the other women on the roster. And then she comes in, and I get the idea, I guess, is you kind of confuse the boundaries between what is real and what isn't. Sure, all of this other stuff is the wrestling we usually enjoy, but I think Ronda and Becky really do hate each other. Maybe Ronda will actually hit her in the main event. But then when you do a pro wrestling angle, which is so hokey, like what happened here in the closing, the finish, just undermines all that and renders it pointless.
Yeah. Although, I don't think people got the memo, but this was the only match where people pointed to the WrestleMania sign. Guys, come on, it's Fastlane. If there's one thing that this show is here for, it's multiple points.
What was the overall tally?
4, and they were all in this match.
I was so close, I said 3.
Yeah, and Laurie said 5. So you split the difference. I said 10.
Yeah.
I thought... Because it's the pay-per-view before WrestleMania. People point to that sign by accident. It just seems like second nature. No one was doing it.
Because the pay-per-view wasn't long enough, Elias got another song, which was the sort of third part of this 3 gig-bit payoff. Some more local sports team heat. Talks about how no interruptions, finally. And that's when I thought, the lights are going to come up. And Dean Ambrose is going to be there. Because it was Elias who sort of beat up Dean Ambrose earlier on Monday, which led to this Raw reunion. Yeah, and it was weird that Elias wasn't involved in all of this afterwards.
Yeah, but Dean's got other things on his plate now, hasn't he? He's got the mid-card of evil. So he's why face Elias now?
But Elias is kind of affiliated with the mid-card of evil.
That was a 1 week thing, mate.
Yeah, and then you won't get the cool entrance through the crowd. I get it, but it wasn't good what happened anyway.
It's like when you go to camp and you make a new friend. Like you're friends with when you're at camp.
It's intense.
It's intense.
Literally.
But then when you leave, you say you're going to write each other, but like you never do. That's what the mid-carder people were doing with Elias that 1 week of Raw. I'm
both disappointed by this angle, and I'm disappointed that you didn't laugh more. Intense.
Okay. Ha 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 ha.
I think that was very good and quick-witted.
It was very good. I did like Elias as well, saying like, hey, this is great. I've had no interruptions. Thank you. Good night. I love none of you.
Yeah. Lacey Evans walked out, then walked back out.
Where is this going?
I don't care.
Is it going... No, I'm not getting into it. I thought it was an Asuka thing, but apparently it's not.
And then Randy Orton hits Elias with an RKO from out of nowhere.
Like a dick. What did Elias ever do to you, Randy?
And everyone
He's
cheered
on Raw.
that. Yep, he's on Raw. He's also a heel who was getting very explicit heel heat throughout the entire night. Randy Orton, when I last checked...
No, he's a babyface.
When?
I'm pretty sure he's been a babyface for a few months now.
No.
They didn't have an official term, but he's not been acting like a heel.
He's been going up to AJ, who's definitely a crowd favourite, and dicking on him.
Yeah, but that's just Randy Orton. I don't think it's not the vicious heel Randy, the one that beat Jeff up so bad that he's never been the same again.
Well, to me, he's a heel at the moment. He's also a SmackDown guy. I felt like Elias's comeuppance should have been at the hands of someone he's involved with, or someone he could now start a feud with, like
Road Dogg or Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, but yeah, it was Randy Orton who hit him with an RKO. Orton stands up, and AJ Styles is there with a phenomenal forearm.
It just materialized out of nowhere.
If you look, Ronda's calling it scripted, and now I'm like, well, it's obviously scripted.
Yeah.
I want to forget that it's scripted. Don't make it so obviously fabricated for me. I just it's lazy. It's lazy to just put people out there and have spot. That's how I like my indie wrestling when I'm drunk, not storytelling. The main event, however, was... I don't want to sound too sentimental, but something quite special.
Yeah, I said this in the review as well, because they really were putting over hard on commentary that this is the last time this is happening. They mentioned explicitly Dean Ambrose is leaving in April. He's not re-signing with the company, and he's going. So there's one way to look at that, which is like, well, that lends credence to this idea that Dean's already re-signed, because there are some people who think that he is sticking around now.
Roman never had cancer.
Well, that as well. Well, that's obvious, that one. Come on now. And there are people who think that Dean is officially staying now because Roman is back in the company. I was joking about the leukemia thing. He's back in the company now, and he wanted to make Dean stay. And he's already accomplished that goal, and Dean is now staying. That's what was reported last week. It also lends credence to those other people who said, well, this was a work from day one. But to those people, I do want to ask, why and who were you working?
The boys in the back.
To what end?
So Seth Rollins can scream one. I think Seth's being worked, and they did it just so he could really tap into that cool babyface aura he had last year. Because he's cooled off, and he's not that engaging.
It's the
really.
WrestleMania main event.
Yeah, and that's why he screamed one of my favourite moments of the night.
One more
mother effing time.
I loved it. Anyway, so they were really putting over hard that this was the last time. Like Michael Cole said explicitly, this is the last time we can do this match. Seth Rollins has got a match at WrestleMania. He's facing Brock Lesnar. So this is the only time we can do this match again on pay-per-view. Or have this team together as a team on pay-per-view. And it really did have this sort of sentimental feeling about it of this is like going to your favorite band's last ever gig. And you're like, God, I hope they do all the hits because it's the last time I get to see them. I hope they play all the songs I like. And they did. They played all the songs I like. You had Rollins and Ambrose go out and do the crowd brawling. You had Roman doing some spears on the outside. You had a couple of ooh-ahs. You had a triple powerbomb. You had a triple powerbomb in the ring. You even had them going to the opposite sides of the ring and getting up. You had the beat, like a swarming beat down. They played all the hits, and I loved it.
They even, I think it was Seth Rollins and, who was it? When they went into the crowd and they brawled near the stairs, and Seth Rollins did a dive off the top. He had like a no DQ match that was like that on Raw a couple of years ago. I loved it, and it did make me, very, very nostalgic because it's like the last time ever. If this wasn't the last time ever, we've had many reunions since, most with Kurt Angle in.
Yep.
And it's a shame he wasn't out there for a full Shield reunion.
And to your point as well, we've had quite a few reunions, but they've always been marred with something has gone tits up. Like Roman is not feeling very well, so Angle has to step in, or Triple H has to step in on a house show. Like it always felt like that Ambrose gets injured. It always felt like something was always going wrong for these Shield reunions. If this is the last time, I'm glad it went well. I'm glad that we got to see that, and I was happy with it.
Yeah, it was really, really nice. It just made me think of that debut match against also a Franken team, Daniel Bryan, Kane, and Ryback, and they just had it was so fresh and new and really exciting. And then they saved Raw for 18 months.
Oh man, their feud with the Wyatt family.
That's right. So that's that. The only problem with this match is it's Baron Corbin's mid-card of Evil, which has no substance behind it. It's just thrown together. It's lazy. And we've been over that a lot. Imagine if the Wyatt family had been properly booked and they had also gone on to Shield-like levels where Luke Harper was his own thing, Bray Wyatt was his own thing, Braun Strowman.
Yep.
You don't have to say Eric Rowan. And they also all had to come together for this last match. And that's how they went out. But, different in a universe somewhere, in a WWE alternative universe, maybe.
And there was actually a spot in this match where I thought, they're not going to win. Because Baron Corbin hit the end of days on Roman, and Seth and Dean were nowhere to be seen. Yeah. And I was like, either Roman's kicking out here, but it was very close to Baron Corbin pinning Roman Reigns. And I wonder if that's how they're going to set up the WrestleMania match. It's like, I had you beat if it wasn't for your mates. So they did all the hits, and I liked it. And it worked for me. As I said, it was 2/3 a boring Raw main event because it was the heels working over a member of the Shield. Like first it was Seth, so we could build up a Dean hot tag. Then they worked over Dean, so they could build a Roman hot tag. And that's fine. Like there's we were just building up the heat and everything until we could do the big stuff at the end. And the last third made up for the two first thirds.
See, I didn't even dislike the first 2/3. I was so into the Shield and the nostalgic vibe that it felt like the first 2/3 were a really fun house show for me.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I got such a house show vibe where it was all just there for the hits. And you have a little bit of the heels getting over. But I was into that because I was so into the baby faces. And then the final third was just great pay-per-view, pull out all the stops.
Yeah.
I loved it. Really, really loved it. And it was just triple powerbomb on Baron in the middle. And they win. All three guys hug like immediately. They just really solidly embrace. And Seth looks close to tears, really genuinely. And they all do the fist bump. That was real.
It was lovely.
Yeah.
It was genuinely very, very lovely.
Yeah. And a cap off to what was a very good wrestling pay-per-view. Some booking things that were just nonsense, and really all the setup for the matches and all the follow-up for the matches, I'm sure, is going to be just bewilderingly, bafflingly terrible. But in this moment, this was a very, very fun show. I loved the heckins out of it. I enjoyed it more than the Rumble and Elimination Chamber.
Yep.
And those were both good shows.
Both good shows. WWE have had very good shows this year. While their TV has been hit and miss, mostly miss.
Raw's mostly missed. SmackDown's been very good.
That's a very good point, yeah. Raw has been mostly missed and SmackDown has been mostly hit. I think their pay-per-views have been very, very good. And this was yet another very, very good pay-per-view. So we've got 4 weeks till WrestleMania. I'm sure that there's going to be lots of downs and maybe some ups on the way there. Is that trademark now? Oh my God. He's the worst for trademarking things.
Why?
Why would you do that? And so I think that we're going to have an interesting 4 weeks in building a WrestleMania because a lot of the card still feels very much up in the air of what we're going to get. But it does make me think, we're going to get a good WrestleMania though. if the pay-per-view quality can keep up, we should get a very good WrestleMania, as long as it's not 22 matches and we've got to try and spread those out over 7 hours.
Why do you say these things out loud? Why can't you just keep those thoughts to yourself? There's no way Kofi's bulletproof. Christ alive. Do you not learn?
Okay, apparently not. Absolutely not.
So for predictions, I got 5 out of, I don't know, a lot of the predictions were scuppered because matches changed so much, and you and Laurie both got 6.
Both got 6, so I'm now 2 points behind you in the overall Wrestle League. I said to Laurie on the Saturday show, if I had got the if Charlotte had won and Ray had won, there was way I would have actually gone ahead.
If I got these 2 things right.
The point was, because of the way you had predicted against me, I actually would have gone above you in the league.
I get how it works.
So I was like, there is every chance that I could make a comeback here. I'm pretty sure I'm still losing this. But so I'm now 2 points behind you, and Laurie is way out the lead with 19 points.
Yeah, I know how you feel. If all my predictions came true, I would be in the in the lead. Well, that's all we've got time for.
I think you really twisted my words there to make me sound like a knob.
That's all we've got time for. It's a long one today. 1 hour 11 we've gone. But please click the videos that have just appeared on the desk to catch up with the latest WrestleTalk Awesome Things, and go on, see what this Screen Stalker thing is all about by clicking the link in the middle. It'll take you to the channel there. I've been Ollie Davis. This has been Luke Owen, and that was Rambling.